Yo, what's up guys, mgoff1200 here, and today we've got another episode of this FIFA 18 beta podcast, and I'm here with Ethan, Dan, and Sean Dyche, the Burnley manager. Hello guys.
Hello lads, how's it going?
Pretty good, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Just came from the impressive result on the weekend against Chelsea. Lads played well. Happy at the point in total. Good game.
Alright, excellent. Well, congratulations on that win. But anyway, we're going to get into it, and we have a career mode special for you guys. So we're basically going to get down and dirty to the career mode, what's going on, like the menus, what transfers are like, and the deadline day, and other stuff that you guys will get into. But anyway, the first off, I think, Ethan, you have a question for me.
I do have a question. Now that Sean's left us and he's gone in the other room, the main question I think we've got, the first one of career mode, is sort of the, what do you call it, the hub, the sort of like the layout, the screen. Obviously everyone knows how to navigate the menus, but how does it look now? How has it changed in the new FIFA game?
Well, to be honest, it hasn't changed too much, as in it's still got that like ultimate team type feel with the little tabs that you can use. You've still got the central squad, transfers, office, and the season part of it, but you've also got this new feature called the squad hub. And now it's quite confusing, because I couldn't really, the first time I used it, I got a bit confused, to be honest. But basically you have four things that shows your players and your squad. It has your player's status, your stats, their attributes, and their financial. Now, their status is their squad role, their happiness, and just how they're feeling about the club, basically. That's the status, and it lists everyone. Now, the stats is basically their stats in game. So it's similar to the squad report part, of which you see how many games they've played, how many goals they've scored, and what competitions they've actually played in. So that's the stats, and now the next part is attributes, and attributes is similar to the squad report. Again, they've kind of like split the squad report into stats and attributes, but the attributes part is the stuff that you see where like player growth and stuff. And to be honest, I don't like it at all, the attributes part. I prefer the squad report layout, because it's just all in one big thing and you can see it all there, whereas now they've split it up, and the attributes, it seems like too much on one screen, if that makes sense, and it's just not, it's not as much information as you need or you would like to want, so to speak, in that part. And you have to scroll, like when you scroll with your right analog stick to actually scroll through certain tabs, you have to scroll through that with the different types of stats. So like with dribbling, with the technical, mental, and physical, you have to scroll through with that, which is, I don't like at all. But you guys obviously have your own opinion, but I don't like it. I prefer the normal one. But anyway, and the last part of the squad hub is the financial. Now, the financial part is pretty much the contract part of the career mode that you're used to. So in FIFA 17, you go to transfers and click on contract, or is it office? I'm not sure. I always get confused because they've recently changed that. But I think it's transfers, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's what for the contracts?
Yeah.
I think this year it's on. Well, FIFA 17 it's on transfers, but I know for previous years it used to be on the squad tab.
Right, but anyway, yeah. So now that is on the financial. You click on that, and it gives you everything that you're used to. So, but there's something that has changed regarding the contracts. Now, I will get into this in a bit more detail when we talk about the transfers. But you do actually get to sit down physically. It shows you a cutscene like the journey. You sit down. You're the manager with that player if you want to bring contract negotiations. Now, in contract negotiations, you can offer, obviously, the new contract, the new wage. You can add things like they get a bonus when they play 10 games, or when they score 10 goals, or whatever. You can make that up. You can choose to add it in. It's a journey style thing, and you can choose to add it in that style. And then the player's there with their agent as you sit down with them and you talk about it, and you talk about the contract length. They propose their terms, and then you can say, actually, often the case, I haven't actually had any other thing, but they've always asked for 4 years, and I'm the type, I do my career mode as 5 years. I always offer them 5 years, but just because it's cheaper on the long run when you just offer them longer contracts. So that's exactly what I've done, but I've only ever seen contracts being offered for 4 years, unless they're players like about 35 or older, and then that is usually 1 year's added on to the contract. So that's pretty much the squad hub, what's new in the squad hub type part. But yeah, that's pretty much that in terms of the central menus.
Yeah, so Matt, a question I was going to ask you was, has the squad, like, anything changed in it, like different custom tactics or formations, any new formations been added, and different position layouts?
In terms of that, other than what we covered last time in terms of the quick subs, or whatever the thing is called, with the new subs, the tactical subs and stuff, nothing has changed in that sense in terms of the actual core squad element when you actually click on your squad. But in terms of the squad part of the tab, when you see that section, there's only one thing new, and that's what we've already spoken about, the squad hub. Now, when we talked about the status, stats, attributes, and financial of your players, now the squad hub, I think they've just done it because they put it in the main central part, just because it's a new feature and EA want to show that off. But I think as we go into the FIFA 19, that squad hub would then come into the squad part, and then probably a new feature will then come into the central part, which will replace the first central part of that. But that's pretty much that in terms of the squad. And I guess we move on to the next section. Okay.
Regarding the squad, before you shoot off.
Right.
In regards to player training, obviously that was a big feature. Not this year, the year before.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big feature they introduced. Have they actually done anything to that to improve it? Because it's sort of, it's as nice as it is. It's very basic, and I still want to be able to go and train like a right mid to a right back and a counter to a striker and that sort of stuff. Is that actually in the game yet, or are they still?
I hate to break it to you, but unfortunately, we still can't train positions. Now, I know literally every single FIFA player is calling it out. Go do it, so I can change someone to a better position that I think they'll play better in, and you just can't.
Yeah.
And it's really annoying. But the only thing they have changed is speed up the countdown on the training thing. So you know when you do simulate all, so sped it up a bit so you don't have to wait as long. Because I have found myself waiting quite a while. You know, especially when you go through a couple of weeks at a time. Like say for example, if you feel like simming the games. And you just constantly need to wait, and it's just really boring. Now they have sped it up a bit. It's not like really quick, so you just press it and then it's done. You do have to wait. I'd say maybe 3 seconds rather than the usual 5, but they still have the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 countdown thing, but they just sped it up, so I don't know. But yeah, so that's pretty much that in terms of the squad and the training section. Now what section's next, guys?
So Matt, I was going to ask you about the transfer section. Like, obviously searching for players, can you obviously look for them in different like positions and get the right player you want from the right age and select the different age category, like say just type in 18 or whatever, and then could you do like release clauses and all that?
Well,
with different money.
With the transfer section, there is a lot. Well, there's a reasonable amount of stuff that's new to transfers, which we'll cover in more detail once we've covered this open section. But the transfer section, as far as you're aware, in terms of appearance, hasn't changed in the first part. Otherwise, there is new things in terms of negotiations, contract negotiations, and transfer negotiations. So that's all new. There's new stuff there, but it's actually in the game. You have to click on a couple of things first before you then get to that part. But yeah, that's pretty much transfer. And to be fair, the next part that we're going to go on to, the office, is exactly the same as well. However, there's one thing that has changed, and there's in terms of like not quite the layout, but in the office. Now we know that in the office you have your youth section, and that's where you handle your youth players. Yeah, exactly. And one thing that's very useful, which links onto transfers, is your sign time. Now this is something I'm going to quote quite a lot, and basically you can sign players pretty much instantly now. Now, especially with youth as well, all you have to do is click sign, and then they will sign it to your squad straight away. You don't have to wait. You don't have to click advance on your central part of the calendar to then wait for them to confirm that contract. You offer them that contract, they accept it right there and right then, and they get into your squad straight away. So it's perfect. There's no time wasted. So say if you had a youth player and you wanted to play him in the game that's on that day, you could sign him that day and play him that day. You don't need to wait for contract negotiations, which is perfect. And it's a big improvement.
Yeah. So basically, obviously, they're starting to move in the right direction, getting it more realistic then. With the transfers. Yeah,
because effectively you could, if you were a manager, you could sign anyone you wanted to if they wanted to sign for you, if they were a free agent, of course. to your squad and play them that day, because you can sign free agents outside the transfer window. So
also, I guess with your youth squad as well, it's like if you're a manager and you want to bring up a youth player, like United did with Rashford in his debut, like it wasn't like giving any notice. He was in the squad on the day and only started the match like half an hour before. And I'm guessing if you can sign a youth player literally on the day of your match, it sort of makes it a bit more realistic in that sense.
Yeah, to be fair, working on that point, that's probably why they've done it, because obviously we have the Rashford story coming into his he's in his second proper season now, isn't he? He's just finished, sorry.
Second full season, yeah.
That might be why that might be what inspired them to do it, actually, thinking about it. But because we all know the Rashford story. That's pretty much it in the main central hub. So that's the first section over with. Now I think Dan is going to ask us another question, and I will answer in more detail.
Yeah, more detail. Yeah, because Ethan's obviously you're gonna be talking about the deadline day, aren't you? So
I love a deadline day. All I want is Jim White in his like full suit, getting like a dildo thrown in front of his face. That's what you want on the deadline day, innit?
Well, you can want that. I want other things, but you can want that.
Let's get back
Chelsea
on
wants
track.
a new player so they don't lose to Burnley again.
Yeah, right. Let's get back on track. Right, Dan, what was your question?
So obviously, like we were touching about the transfers, so it'd be like more like Alaba going to Juventus and then Manchester United to Griezmann going to Manchester United. Sorry.
Well, you were asking about like the realistic transfers, like if you still have repetitive transfers, stuff like that.
Exactly. Yep.
Right. I haven't seen Alaba to go to Juventus, Ozil to Barcelona. I haven't seen Griezmann go to United, or Lukaku, or Kane. So I think
any of the world's top 10 strikers.
Yeah, or any of the world's top 10 strikers for that matter. Man United haven't gone crazy like they usually do in the transfer windows and buy 3 strikers. So I haven't seen any of that. I've seen reasonably realistic signings. Now, I've seen Pedro sign for Atletico Madrid. I've seen...
That's alright.
I think it was Ross Barkley signed for... who was it? I think it was Arsenal. So that was reasonable. I think it was... Who else was it? I think it was Aubameyang went to PSG.
That's kind of realistic.
Maybe, I don't know, but I think they're basing it on...
I don't want to imagine that attacking lineup though.
No, yeah, me neither, but...
Di Maria, Aubameyang and Neymar makes you want to cry.
Yeah, well, they don't have Neymar on this at the moment. Neymar's still at Barcelona, but that's only because the squads aren't updated. But yeah, so that's pretty much that. Transfers are more realistic. You don't get the repetitive transfers anymore. But to be fair, I've only played one career mode, so these transfers might happen again, and that would mean that obviously they're repetitive again, and that will take it boring. But I do wonder if they brought in a new engine or new program behind the scenes to say that each team, they look at their squad and they look at their formation and see, right, we've got say if they're doing a 4-4-2 and they're looking for strikers, they've obviously got 2 strikers in that 4-4-2 formation. They would probably want 2 strikers at least in reserves and on the bench, so to speak. So between them, there'd be 2 more strikers just in case. Now, probably what I reckon they've done is looked at this type of thing and said, well, if you don't have 4 strikers in a 4-4-2 formation that you usually have, they will then go out and buy the necessary difference. So say if they only have 3 strikers and they do have a 4-4-2 formation, chances are they will go out and buy another striker to make that 4 strikers to then cover up that hole and fill that squad depth. Now, I reckon that's what's happened, because that would make sense with Arsenal, because they do have quite a few midfielders, but a lot of them get injured often. I mean, there's not only the midfielders, there's most of the team. And with PSG, they haven't bought Neymar yet in this game, in the FIFA 18 beta, but that would make sense with Aubameyang going. So, there are things that I've noticed that are just they do seem more realistic, and I think that's something we've been asking for a while now. I wouldn't say it's been too often. I guess it has. It's difficult to say really with the transfers, because that's they were realistic, and then all of a sudden we got I think it was when we moved up to the new platform, wasn't it? They started getting really mental. I think one of the problems they have, especially with FIFA, is when they bring the game out, like when it first comes out, they can be sort of realistic. But then when they're constantly chopping and changing with the ratings that players have, obviously as you will do with the updates, like to keep it realistic, I think it's hard for the game's code itself to actually keep like up to date with it, if you know what I'm saying. So they're like trying to actually like
get players to buy realistic players when ratings are constantly changing. So like if you have someone like, I don't know, like say for example Rashford went from what being like a unknown 59 rated player in like February to going all the way up to like almost like 74 rated. It's hard to get like realistic transfers when ratings fluctuate that much. And hopefully they can sort of find some way to address that, but I can imagine it'd be quite difficult.
Yeah, well, unfortunately they still haven't got that yet, unfortunately, but that is another thing all of the FIFA gamers are asking for, and yes, I agree completely. Like, you need to be able to bring a youth player that's say 18 years old into the first team, and say if he scores in 10 of the games, in his first 10 games, he scores in every single game, he should have at least a 70 rated rating, so to speak, unless you're really lucky with your youth player. You know, at least 70 rated by that time, because you know, otherwise it's just like, well, that would never happen without, if you were to look at the squad, like you look at what happens with Mbappe when they've actually been able to do it from behind the scenes as it went on, because I know I probably pronounced his name wrong, but that's how I like to say it, Mbappe.
Mbappe. I think it's Mbappe.
Mbappe. Okay, well, I like to say Mbappe, so I'm saying Mbappe. Mbappe. Oh my god. Okay, we're just gonna call him Mbappe now. But anyway, and we've seen his rating go from, I think it was like 60-ish to then high 70s within one season, and we saw that of Rashford as well. But that's from background EA updates. Now, obviously, what we want is career mode. We want to see ourselves on our players. Now, equally, we want to see player digression. So, say if, like for example, what happened with Fernando Torres later on. Some would say his Chelsea career. He kind of peaked at Liverpool. Basically, that's what happened. Now, if that were to happen in terms of player form, we obviously want that to change the player's rating and go down as well. So if your player doesn't score in however many league games or Champions League games, whatever, they want the rating to go down. Now, obviously that still isn't in the game, but it is something we're hoping for FIFA 19, I think. And it's not too late, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure how long that takes to program.
On that point, actually, in regards to player digression, in regards to like one of the things that really annoys me, because last year on FIFA 16 they'd sort of fixed it a bit, and this year they've messed up again. In terms of players over the age of like 30, how quickly they drop is like them jumping off of a cliff. It's ridiculous. They need to find something, because I think last year, if you had like someone like Rooney or like Zlatan, they can still improve even though they're in their like later years. Well, this year it seems that as soon as like players, like, I had players who are like 76 rated sort of squad players. As soon as they hit 30, their physical stats go from like 80 odd pace to down to like 60 within a season. I think there is something they need to address, because like, for example, like people like Defoe and like Ibrahimovic playing in the Premier League at like 35, 36 years old, they're still at the top of their game, and their stats should fluctuate to represent how you'd get when you're older. So like your physical stats may decrease, but your mental stats would go up. And I don't think FIFA like found a way to go and do that. I think that's definitely something they do need to address as well.
Yeah, I think so too. You know, we it is, again, like I'm saying, another thing that we all need to address, that FIFA EA needs to address. We put it out there if you're watching. Yeah.
Come on, EA. We know you watch our videos. Like 100 views you get per video. You're definitely watching our videos.
All right. Okay, I think we're going to wrap up that transfer section and get on to the last part of, well, this is a new section. Well, not new section. This is a big part of the transfer section, let's say. So, Ethan, I think you have one last question to ask.
So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a big fan of Jim White and the old deadline day dildos. So the main question on is how have they changed deadline day? Because as far as I got, it was basically hour by hour what used to be on old FIFAs, and as good as it was, it got so repetitive. I think I started falling asleep during it. So have you done anything to spruce it up?
Well, when you say that hour by hour part, they've still got exactly that part, but the big thing that's changed is that you can sign the players, like I mentioned with the youth players, pretty much instantly.
That's good.
And it goes through a whole procedure of doing that as well. So when you sign players, you have to, how can I put it? You have to approach them, you have to add them to your shortlist. And once you've done that, you then come out of your searching, when you're searching for players, when you found them, you then come out of that part of the menus, then you go into your transfers section. And this is where you see your sent offers, received offers, your shortlist, and your transfer listed. Now, sent offers is obviously what you've sent, your received offers is what you've received, and your shortlist is your shortlist, like when you add players to your shortlist, and your transfer list is obviously the players that you've listed up to be transferred.
Yeah.
So the shortlist, I'll go through an example of what would happen when you go to sign a player. So you'd approach them, you probably search for them, you search their name, and you add them to your shortlist. You then go to your shortlist and then approach to buy. But this time, rather than approach to buy, you then... So once you've added them to the shortlist, you then start to negotiate a transfer fee with players or the club's representative. Now, you invite them to your office, you get that cutscene again, like I said in the journey, and with the contract, sorry, the journey type style. You invite them to your office and you start to negotiate the transfer fee. So often they come out with, we think this player is valued around, say, let's say we're doing it for Alexandro, the left back. His value, I think, was about 50 million in the game. And basically, he'd sit down, the club's rep would sit down and say, okay, we think he's valued at around 50 million. What do you think? And then you could have the chance to counter offer it. But also in your offer, you could add a sell-on fee. Now, what a sell-on fee is for those of you that don't really know what it is when you can say 5%, 10%, or however much percent you can do from 1% up to 25%. You can say when this player gets sold again, the club that is selling it currently, so where is Alexandra at the moment? Is it Juventus? It is Juventus.
Yep. And he was signed from Porto as well.
Yeah, he was signed from Porto. So say if, okay, let's say this. So I'm Chelsea. Let's say I'm buying Alexandro from Juventus. You'd say, right, okay, we're happy with putting in a sell-on fee of 5% of that 50 million now, or 10%, let's say. Then once I sell it again, say if I'm Chelsea, and then I sell him to, say, Bayern Munich or another club, or Manchester United or Arsenal, whatever, then Juventus would then get 10% of that fee that I sell Alexandro on next. Let's say I sell him for 20 million, they would get 2 million for that. So that's sell-on fees. Now, you can do that with your own players, and they can do it with any other players as well. So it's universal for every single player, part of the contracts and stuff as well. So that's that. And just quickly, I've just realised I've forgotten something about the contracts. There are release clauses.
Ooh.
So I think Ethan would like to know about this. I know he does. And yes. Now,
I love a release clause.
Yes, release clauses are pretty much what they are in real life, obviously. So you can set a release clause when you do the contract negotiations. And you can set, right, say for example Diego Costa, he's probably worth about maybe 50 million in today's market. You could say, right, we want a contract release clause of 55 million for clubs that want him. And then obviously any club can come up to you at any time, bearing in mind it's not only the transfer windows, and approach to and confirm to buy your player. And now we're on the deadline day type thing. Just want to put it out there that you can actually transfer with anyone, so to speak. You can transfer, sorry, your transactions can go through during the transfer period, but you can actually negotiate with any player, with any club, at any time, which is new.
Ooh.
So it's not just free agents now. You can actually negotiate with outside the transfer windows. You can negotiate with anyone as long as they don't block you. And I must say, it has got a lot harder negotiating, because if you offer, what I like to do is look at the assistant manager's recommendation to say how much he's roughly worth, and then I offer slightly below that. Now, negotiations now, they have the opportunity, because you invite them into your room, they have the opportunity to just get up and storm out and swear at you and stuff, which I've actually had, because it says cannot find subtitle when he starts throwing his arms at you and stuff and walks out. It seemingly feels like he starts swearing at you, which is quite funny. But
who did you piss off, Matt?
I won't go into that, but basically,
did you tell Allegri that his wife smells?
No, I just offered too little sum of money, but so that can happen as well. But you can do the same, bearing in mind. So you can when you invite them, when you get an offer, you can invite them to your office and start negotiating as well. You can do the same. You can just get up and swear at them.
I am 100% going to go and make Arsene Wenger kill himself. I'm just going to buy his entire team and just, watch him just cry.
But yeah, so that's pretty much that in terms of anytime, anywhere. You can sign anyone, but I just want to make sure that, just in case you didn't get it, you can only sign players. The transactions can only go through with players on the transfer periods. So you can start negotiations in, say, March, and then wait for the new season. Say if you complete that negotiation, you just wait until the new season in August to then make that transfer go through, and then you join the club. So yeah, but it's obviously you need the club's permission and the player's permission. Obviously that's player regarding the contract and the club regarding the transfer fee. So that's pretty much everything regarding transfers and the deadline day. Because like I say with the deadline day, your deadline day is pretty much infinite because you have 10 hours in that day. Let's not view them as 10 hours. Let's view them as 10 sections, because when we're going back before, time doesn't actually pass on. So you can actually message a team, contact a team, say I want to buy this player, invite them to your office, and agree on a transfer fee, and then that happens. Then you can invite the player to your office and negotiate contracts, all in that 1 hour or section part of that 10 section part. All do that in 1 hour, effectively, but you could do that with multiple players. So you could effectively make as many signings as you could afford in that 1 hour part, and you could do that in 1 day as well, as long as you actually are successful with the transfers. But it's slightly complicated because you do have to mess around with the menus a bit. You do have to go back and forth, so I think that will be refined properly, but you understand what I mean when you actually play the game, because it is a bit confusing to explain. But long story short, when you finish the contract negotiations, you have to go to a different part of the menus to then negotiate with the player. It doesn't let you go straight from part to part, which is a bit annoying, but you do get used to it.
Yeah, I think that
but yeah. So that's pretty much it, guys. That is the career mode special over, I guess, unless you guys have anything to add or any more questions.
No, well, all we can say is it's moving a step in the right direction, isn't it? So,
oh god, we're repeating ourselves too much.
Step at a time.
yeah.
But yeah, okay.
There's not more else you can say there, can you, really?
No, yeah.
It's
a repeating theme. It is a step in the right direction, like pretty much every single FIFA. So,
Exactly.
And I'm sure they'll fuck it up in about 3 FIFA's time. So.
Yeah, I'm sure we all know that. But yeah, anyway, that's going to be the end of the episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I think Sean Dyche is returning now quickly. Wait, where is he? Oh, hello.
Hello, lads. Thank you for doing the podcast. I'll be seeing you lads later. Enjoy. All the best. Sean.
Alright, excellent. So that was a voice message from Sean. Anyway, that was going to be the end of the episode, so thanks so much for watching. I've been mgoth1200 with VFL, Dan, and Ethan. If you did like this, please do like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you again soon.
What?